is that there's this great element of hierarchy, I think, within sort of straight male culture especially. There's this long-running idea that you're all in competition for women, you're all sort of competing with each other to see who can be the best with other women, who can get the best or the most. But the point is, there's a very strong element of competition in the hierarchy, and of course, when you have a hierarchy between men, you also, the men being like the culturally dominant force in a patriarchal culture, will then enforce that hierarchy onto women. So the idea is, okay, in order to prove that I am like a man better than that man, or better, or like a good man even on a basic sense, I need to go and find a woman who matches or is of a certain level on the hierarchy. So you see actually this quite a lot of times. Like if you look at any media involving particularly young white guys, you will have them saying, okay, oh, look at that woman, isn't she attractive, more attractive than that woman? How high would you rate this kind of thing? And so it becomes so much of a shared ability that people can actually just okay, we can swap ratings and actually give people almost like a number of saying, okay, this is how attractive you are on a scale of 1 to 10, and everyone will agree on that. But of course, no, not everyone will. But moving on from that, even on the basic idea of what defines attractiveness, actually, if everyone sees it differently, how can you have that element of quality? You have that thing of, okay, this is the rating that I give to this person, and that's the rating that everyone else will share. Of course, even within straight communities, if you don't have the same well, they're not quite inbuilt, but standards that you judge people on, if you have a different way of seeing how people are attractive, that puts you right out of the culture like that. It puts you very much towards the edge, because you don't want to engage to the same level. Maybe it's particularly just me, but at the same level, you don't have that same drive, I think, to engage in the kind of hierarchy competition games, because of course you want something very different from what everyone else wants in terms of a partner, in terms of engaging with other people on a sexual level. It's not about saying, oh, I had sex first, or I've had sex with this many people, or this good a person. It's more because of course you don't have I think that a lot of people will engage with elements of that because they will want to be part of that culture, despite the fact that they're not really very well programmed to do so, in terms of the fact that they don't share the same sense of attractiveness. I think I'm getting a bit off topic now, but I'm trying to reel it back in. And one of the problems I think I particularly have, which I think is not entirely fair of me, is that particularly because I'm not a part of straight culture, I tend to try and impose my same values onto other people, and I say, no, you shouldn't want to be part of this very patriarchal straight idea, which I know I can't say the word should and shouldn't be there, but I try and encourage people not to get into this very, I think, damaging way of, and it's particularly very objectifying of women. If you just say, okay, on the physical side of things, I am going to rate this person by their attractiveness on a scale of 1 to 10, and everyone will agree on that, and that will be the measurement of value for that person. Any of you who have any understanding of any kind of feminism or anything at all will understand how terrible really that is, even if it doesn't sound so immediately. But I think it also has a great psychological effect on men who do it, because they believe, no, that is the way to go. I have to keep competing with other people, and I have to keep on doing that. Whereas, of course, if you don't want to do that, as I didn't want to do that when I was young and still don't want to engage with that, you feel very much towards the edge, because that's the way that other people seem to think. And even if it's not in the terms of the basic way of giving everyone a number as a man and saying, okay, I judge all of these people like this, who agrees with me, and expecting everyone else to be able to do so, it also happens in much more subtle ways. So, for instance, if you have a lot of fashion magazines, glamour magazines, they will say, okay, this is the way to get ahead in this competition of who looks the best, who has the most expensive kind of stuff. And it's all, I see a lot of it not necessarily as just superficial, but in terms of being really, really damaging, in terms of saying, no, you must be this because that's a value judgment about you, and you will be considered a better person if you do this, and that kind of thing. And a lot of people, I think, also in the science movement, who any of you who do happen to watch this will know what I'm saying when I say that, particularly with the idea of dieting, of losing weight, of always making sure that you're thin, because that's now taken to be almost in some ways the ultimate value judgment about about people's physicality in the modern Western world, because not only is the cornerstone of attractiveness, the idea of being thin is the only way to be, like, I think, like, considered by the media attractive to other people. There is now such a powerful element of that. As I was talking about earlier, if you apply the principles that I had in terms of what it is to be in that environment where you like something that everyone else considers to be very, very unattractive, it becomes very difficult to engage with other people on a sexual level, or like engage with other people in terms of them, because you can understand, again, from a dictionary definition point of view, but if you don't share an element of their sexuality that is so, like, fundamental to it, it becomes very hard to quite understand where other people are coming from. You don't know how other people feel like. So, like, I think it does to a certain extent work both ways, because on the one hand, you, like from an early age, I've been bombarded with media that says, no, this kind of woman, and even to a certain extent, this kind of man is attractive, you should like that, why don't you like that? Not necessarily in a kind of, like, actually asking the question, but that's often how it feels when, like, you have media who puts out an idea of a standard of what is attractive, and you don't share it on a fundamental level. It becomes quite difficult, and it feels very isolating, as I've talked about before. So I often don't really get what other people say, like probably what the sort of, like I was saying earlier, the stereotypical straight white, not necessarily white, but like straight cis men, kind of that standard of Western attractiveness, that particular archetype. I don't quite always understand what is so sexy about it. I can now recognise that, because it's so, okay, that will be something that other people will like. But on a basic level, I don't engage with that sexually, so I don't understand how it feels to do that. In the same way that I don't think other people understand what it is to feel like me. I think no one can ever have that, because in terms of empirical experience of being aroused by something that you originally didn't feel aroused by, and that kind of thing, is something that can't really happen. I think you'd have to leave your own psyche and journey into someone else's psyche and take up their sexuality for a bit and that kind of thing, which I think would be very hard and very, very scary as a concept. But understanding the cultural position that we have, not just as people who have a slightly unusual approach to sexuality, but one that is so different, I think, to what is the accepted norm in culture, which I think is something that really needs to be understood anyway. I've rambled on for a long time in this video. I hope I've touched on some things that are important, that some people are interested in. Thank you for watching, any of you who've made it all the way through this video. And I'll hopefully be around next one. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.